The mystery of dream and sleep. Hiranyagarbha. The first phase of the Atman, as the waking consciousness, has been explained. Internal to the waking consciousness and pervading the waking consciousness, there is a subtler function of this very same consciousness, which is subjectively known as the dream consciousness, or Tejas, and universally known as Hiranyagarbha, or the cosmic subtle consciousness. This is the theme of the description in the next mantra of the Mandukya Upanishad, beginning with Swapnasthanaha, etc. That which has dream as its abode is Swapnasthanaha. That which is aware only of the internal and not of the external is Antaha Pratnya. That which has 7 limbs is Saptang. That which has 19 mouths is Eko Navim Satimukhaha. That which absorbs only the subtle into its being is Pravivikta Bhuk. This is Tejas, the second phase, the second foot of the Atman. Now we are in the dream consciousness, the world of subtle perception. We regard, usually, dreams to be consequences of waking perception, and it is held that the objects seen in dream are psychological rather than physical. We come in contact with real objects in the waking state, but we only contact imagined things in the dream state. While there is actual satisfaction, actual pleasure and actual pain in the waking world, there is an imagined pleasure, imagined satisfaction and imagined pain in the dream world. While the objects of the waking world are not our creation, the objects of the dream world are our own mental creation. This is the usual opinion that we have about dream world in relation to the waking world. The Mandukya Upanishad goes into an analysis of dream and holds a conclusion which is a little different from the usual opinion that we have about the relation between the two states. We regard dream as unreal and waking as real. However, it should be obvious that this is not the whole truth. While we say that the dream world is imaginary in contradistinction with the waking world, we are not stating all sides of the matter. The dream world appears to be unreal in comparison with the waking world. The waking objects appear to be of more practical value than the dream objects, again, by a comparison of the two states. No such statement about the reality of the waking world in relation to the dream world is possible without this comparison. Now, who can make this comparison? Neither the one who is always wakeful can make such a comparison, nor the one who is always dreaming. That judge or witness of the two states cannot be confined to either of the two states. Just as a judge in a court does not belong to either party contending, the one that makes a comparison between the waking and dreaming states cannot be said to belong to either of the states wholly. If the judge of the two states wholly belongs to the waking state, he would be a partisan, and so also would be his condition if he wholly belongs to the dreaming state. What makes you pass a judgment on the relation between the two conditions of waking and dream? It is done because you seem to have an awareness of both the states and you are not confined wholly to either of the states, and no comparison of any kind is possible anywhere unless one has a simultaneous conscience of the two parties, two sides, or two phases of the case on hand. Now, we come to the interesting question. Who makes this comparison? You can make a comparison between the two states through which you pass. Who is it that passes through the states of waking and dream? When you jump from waking to dream, you're not in waking, you are only in dream. And when you come from dream to waking, you are in waking and not in dream. How can you be simultaneously in both the states? And unless you have a simultaneous consciousness of two states, you cannot make a comparison. If you are entirely immersed in one state alone, then no comparison is possible. But we do make a comparison and pass judgments of value on the relation between the two states. This is indicative enough of a truth which surpasses common empirical perception. We are not that which is apparently related wholly to the waking state, nor are we that which is apparently connected only with the dreaming state. We are something different from the specific experiences of both the states. Neither can the waking experiences exhaust us, nor can the dream experiences completely comprehend our being. We seem to be something that is capable of being a witness of both the states. This witness is not a party either to the waking state or to the dreaming state. We are essentially a third element altogether, something independent of waking and dream. What is that third element? This subject is the very purpose of the Upanishad, the core of investigation into the reality of the matter. Just as they appoint a commission when there is a complicated case for investigation, a commission wherein very competent persons are appointed, we seem to be under the necessity of putting ourselves in the position of a dispassionate commission of inquiry into the cases presented by the two states, waking and dreaming. We do not belong to the waking state wholly. We do not also belong to the dreaming state wholly. By dispassionate dissociation of the judging consciousness from the experiences of waking and dream, we place ourselves in a situation where analysis is practicable. When we judge the two states without any prejudice in our minds, the prejudice that waking is perhaps better than dream, without this prejudice, if we approach this matter, we arrive at wholly startling conclusions. Why do we say that the objects of waking are real? Because they have a utilitarian value. The food of the waking state, not the dream food, can appease our hunger of the waking state. That is why we say that the dream food is not real and that the waking food is real. But we forget that the dream food can satisfy our dream hunger. Why do we make a comparison of the two states wrongly? We confine the dream food to the dream world and make a comparison of the dream hunger with waking hunger, not equally, also making a comparison of the other aspect of the matter, namely the food aspect. If we say, we see people in the waking world in relation to whom we can speak and have dealings. In dream too, we have the same dealings with the dream people. We can shake hands with the dream friend, fight with the dream enemy, and experience even a dream death in a battle of dream. We can have a dream court case. We can have a dream property acquired after winning a case. We can have a dream office in which we may be big officers. We may become dream kings in a dream world. What is the difference, whether we are in dream or in waking, when the relations between us and the world outside us are the same in both the states? What makes you say that the dream world is unreal and the waking world is real? The comparison that you make is unjust. You're not a good judge of the parties, and so you pass partial judgments. Because you pass ex parte judgments without considering the cases of the two sides. Now, here, the Mandukya Upanishad is not willing to accept the proposal of any ex parte judgment. You have to dispassionately go into the root of the matter and cannot take sides, either on the part of the waking or on the part of dreaming. A philosopher said, If a king in the waking state is to dream for 12 hours every day that he is a beggar, and if a beggar in the waking state is to dream every day for 12 hours that he is a king, what is the difference between the two persons? Who is the king and who is the beggar? You may say that the waking king is the real king. Here again, you're making a wrong comparison. Such comparisons will not hold water because they are prejudiced by partisanship. It is the waking mind that passes judgment on the waking world and says that it is real. It is like one party in a case saying, I am right, not considering the rights of the other party. The dreaming subject may make an equally valid assertion in relation to the dream world. You regard the dream world as unreal because you have woken up. When you are in dream, you never pass such a judgment. You were happy in dream, you laughed in dream, and you wept in dream. Why do you weep in dream if the dream pains are unreal? You may say, it is a dream, why should I worry? If you see a dream snake in dream, you jump over it. Then, why do you jump over the dream snake? It is unreal. You have tremor of the body. If a tiger in dream attacks you, you wake up with perspiration in the body. You may even cry, actually. This is possible. You may fall from a dream tree and have dream breakings of the legs and you feel real pain. Sometimes the legs start trembling even when you wake up. You start touching them and seeing as to what has happened to them. You take some time to realize that nothing happened and then say, I was imagining. A comparison justly made, dispassionately conducted, philosophically approached between the waking and the dream states will place you in a very awkward condition, so embarrassing that you will not know where you are. Are you waking or are you dreaming? Are you possessed of a thing or are you dispossessed of a thing? This you will not know, and that perhaps the dream experiences are due to the impressions of waking life does not make matters better. It is only a way of arguing. When you practically enter into the field of experience, you will find that this analysis theoretically made has not made a difference to your practical life. It may be that if the waking impressions have created the dream world, the waking experiences might have been created by some other impressions. If on account of the satisfaction that the dream world is only a creation of impressions of waking experiences, you regard dream as unreal, then you may regard the waking world also as unreal, because it is the outcome of some other impressions of some other experience undergone in some other state. If the dream world is the effect of a cause, the waking world too may be an effect of another cause. If the causal relation is responsible for your judging the dream world as unreal, the very same reason can apply to the conclusion that the waking world also is unreal. And why do you hug the waking objects rather than the dream objects? You do cling to dream objects, but you do not think of them when you wake up. If a comparison of the two states is responsible for your regarding the dream world as unreal, why do you not make a comparison of the waking world with another higher state? Why do you confine your analysis merely to the two states, waking and dream? What makes you think that there are only two states and not more? Just as in dream you cannot make a comparison between dream and waking, you cannot make a comparison between waking and higher life unless you wake up from this life. While you're in dream, you think only of the dream world and you do not know that there is such a thing as waking. You forget all your empire of the waking world while you're dreaming. You are so much engrossed in the dream world that you're totally oblivious of there being a thing called waking life. And you eagerly go for the waking world when you wake up, but not before. If this is the case with dream, this is also the case with waking. If in dream appears to be real, in waking, waking appears to be real. Waking is real because you are awake, and dream is real when dream is functioning. While you are in a particular state, the state appears to be real. In the famous analogy of the rope appearing as a snake, the snake is not there at all, and yet you jumped in terror. The snake, to you, was not non-existent in the rope. It was there. You did not see the rope, you saw only the snake. And you say that the snake is not there only after seeing the rope? When you did not see the rope, you saw only the snake, and then you jumped. You should not say that the snake is unreal. If it was unreal, why did you jump? Why was there a real jump over an unreal snake? The snake was not unreal at that time. It was real at that time of its being perceived, and it became unreal when you saw something else, namely the rope. When it is seen, it is real, and it appears to be otherwise only when it is compared to something else that you see subsequently. If this is the way we judge things, then why do we not judge the entire waking world in a similar manner? What makes us say that the waking world is real? It is the same thing that makes us feel that the snake in the rope is real. And just as we jump over an apparent snake, we are affected by the apparent objects of the world. Just as we get possessed of a feverish sentiment on account of the perception of the snake, which is not there, we are in the agony of samsara due to the perception of something which is not there. We should not say it is there. If it is there really, then the snake also is there really. The snake in the rope is a mysterious substance. We cannot say it is there, or it is not there. From one point of view, it is there because we really jump over it. And from another point of view, it is not there because it is only a rope. So, is this whole world of waking? It is there as long as we see it and we cling to it, weep over it, and have various kinds of dealings with it, even as we have dealings with the snake that we see in the rope. But when we see another reality together, when light is brought and the rope is seen, the tremor ceases and we sigh. There was no snake. Likewise, we shall make a statement when light is brought before the world, not this light of the sun, electricity, etc., but the light of wisdom, insight, or realization. When this light is flashed before us, the snake of the world will vanish and we will see the rope of Brahman. Then will we exclaim, "Oh, this is all. Why did I unnecessarily run about here and there?" As we speak now, after waking, in regard to the dream world, so will we say, then, in regard to this world, when we wake up into the consciousness of the Absolute. This, therefore, is the world in which we are living. We may call it real or unreal as we would like. Both statements seem to be correct. It is true that the world is there because we see it, and it is not really there because it is sublimated in a higher experience. This analytical understanding of the relation between waking and dream will be able to throw light on the relation of man to God. What the dream subject is in relation to the waking subject, that man is in relation to God. And as the dream world is to the waking subject, so is the waking world to God. As the waking subject is the creator of the dream world, God is the creator of this waking world. And what happens to you when you wake up from dream into the waking life? That happens to you when you rise from this world of God. Do you lose anything by waking? Then you lose something by realizing God also. But if you feel that by waking up from dream, you lose nothing, rather you become better, then the same rule applies to the state of God realization. you do not lose anything by God realization. On the other hand, you become better and get enhanced in being. While in dream you saw only phantoms, and in waking you feel that you see real things. In God, you see things as they really are, rather than the phantasms that you see in this so-called waking life. This is the metaphysical analysis of dream experience in relation to the world of waking. The world of dream is not outside the mind. The world of waking is not outside the absolute. Dream is not merely a metaphysical problem. It is also a psychological occurrence. It is a reversion of the mind into its own abode from the world of sensory operations. That is why it is called Antaha Prashnaha and Pravivikta Phuk. It is Antaha Pranya, or internally conscious, because the mind can project a world in dream independent of the operation of the waking senses. The eyes may be closed, but yet you will see in dream. You may plug your ears and go to bed, and yet you will hear in dream. Though the tongue does not actually work, you can taste in dream. You can have all the sensory functions in dream, though the waking senses are not active then. The mind projects itself as the senses of dream and becomes capable of contacting dream objects, which also are a partial manifestation of the same mind. The mind divides itself into the subject and the object, and the seer as well as the seen. You are the beholder of the dream, and you are also simultaneously the world which you behold. The world of dream, together with the beholder in dream, vanishes when there is waking, in which the dream subject and the dream objects coalesce, come together to form a more integrated consciousness. A similar union takes place in Ishwar Sakshatkar, or God realization. The world that you see outside and you yourself as the beholder of this world come together in a universal consciousness. It is called omniscience, or all-knowingness, in almost the same sense that the waking mind can be said to be aware of everything that is in dream. The world of dream was not outside you really, and so also is the world of waking not outside God. And just as you withdrew the dream world into the waking mind may be said to be withdrawn into the cosmic mind of Ishwar. And individually, microcosmically, from the viewpoint of Jivatva, the dream experiences may be regarded as the consequences of the impressions of waking perception. That is, dream may be considered an effect of waking. But it is a different matter altogether when you judge this condition from the point of view of the macrocosm. Even as you have the states of individual waking and dream animated by a consciousness called respectively Vishwa and Tejas, there are, from the cosmic point of view, Virat and Hiranyagarbha, pertaining to the cosmic waking and cosmic dreaming states. While the dream world of Tejas may be regarded, tentatively speaking, as an effect of the waking world of Vishwa, we cannot say that the Hiranyagarbha is an effect of Virat. This is the difference between individualistic perception and cosmic knowledge. While Vishwa may be said to precede Tejas, Virat does not precede Hiranyagarbha. On the other hand, the reverse is the case in the cosmic state. The dream consciousness, which is Tejas, has certain characteristics of Vishwa also. The subtle body has the same contour as the physical body. If the physical body is a form, the subtle body is the mold in which this form is cast. The subtle body has thus a reference to the physical body, and almost in every aspect it corresponds in form, shape, and structure to the physical body. This is why the words Saptang and Ekonavim Satimukha are repeated both in the waking and dream descriptions. The Vishwa or the Jagrit Asthana is Saptanga and ekunavim satimukha, and so its stages and or these swapnasthana. Hiranyagarbha and Virat seem to have the same structural formation, though Hiranyagarbha is subtler than Virat. Hiranyagarbha and Virat are both cosmic, and their difference is one of a degree of subtlety, but not of structural formation. Hiranyagarbha also would be beheld by us in the state of realization as the Virat, only with the distinction that Hiranyagarbha is subtler than the Virat. The seven heads described of Vishwa or Vaishvanara can also be described as of Hiranyagarbha or Tejas. Tejas individually and Hiranyagarbha cosmically are antahapranya, internally conscious, because of the objects being not physical but subtle, constituted of tanmatras, shabda, sparsha, rupa, rasa and gandha. Though waking and dream have their similarity of character in respect of saptangatva and ekonavim satimukhatva, the dream consciousness is praviktabhuk. Both individually and cosmically, it absorbs subtle things into itself in both cases. And that distinction we draw between Vishwa and Vaishvanara, we can also draw between Tejas and Hiranyagarbha. The relation between the Virat and Vishwa and the relation between Hiranyagarbha and Tejas are the same. The dream world is a very complex one when it is judged from the point of view of the jiva, the individual, but it is simple from the point of view of cosmic experience. Great analysis of the dream world have been made by psychologists and psychoanalysts these days. Such scientific analysts as Freud, Adler and Jung in the West have come to the conclusion that dreams are due to certain complexes of personality. Freud attributing them to sex, Adler to inferiority feeling, and Jung to a general urge for growth and harmony between the extrovert and introvert natures in us. The opinions of these psychologists are partially true, and we have much to learn from their discoveries. But they are not wholly right. The psychoanalysts have gone from the conscious level to the subconscious, and to some extent to the unconscious level also. But they have not reached up to the spiritual level. To the psychoanalysts, there is no such thing as the Atman universal. Everything is mind, unconscious, subconscious, or conscious. You may give some credit to the psychoanalysts in that they have gone deeper than the ordinary general psychologists who are restricted in their operations only to the waking world. The psychoanalysts discovered that there is something deeper than the conscious level in man, vis-a-vis the subconscious and unconscious, which are filled with complexes of various kinds. Our personality is more than what appears on the conscious level. Psychoanalysis has gone to the extent of holding the view that there is no such thing as free will, because free will is only as much real as the freedom of choice seen in a hypnotized individual. If the physician is to hypnotize a patient, the patient would act according to the will of the physician, not knowing that he has been hypnotized, and all the while feeling that he is acting according to his own choice or freedom of will. The psychoanalysts hold that we seem to have freedom in the same way, not knowing that we have been hypnotized by the impulses from within, the complexes of which we are made. There is no use saying that we are free. The patient also says that he is free. When he becomes healthy and recovers his normal consciousness, he may act differently. When he is freed from the clutches of the influence of the physician's will, he will act otherwise altogether. And so, also, we will not act in the way we do now if we are freed of the psychological complexes in which we are enmeshed these days, in the situations we are placed in throughout our lives. Every human being has a complex, not merely one complex but several ones. Frustrated feelings become complexes later on. In the beginning you have a desire, and all desires cannot be fulfilled, because of there being what the psychoanalysts call the reality principle. There is the reality of society, the reality of the world outside, which opposes your desires. The society has a law of its own, which will not allow the expression of all individual desires. So, the individual suppress the desires within by repressive activity. Repression and suppression are the mechanisms used by the mind to appear harmonious with the reality of society outside by putting on an appearance that is not real. When you suppress a desire, you become an artificial person. You're not what you are. And when you go on doing this for a long time, the suppressed impressions become complexes. These psychological complexes can at times become physical diseases. One may have such physical difficulties as stammering, deafness, blindness, loss of appetite, liver trouble, even lameness and similar physiological disorders because of the action of buried impulses, the complexes which have been created within by the storing in of repression for a long period of time. This, then, they say, we have been doing for years and years together, especially if we are to consider the incarnations that we have passed through since many lives. We are a group of tensions, complexes, artificial situations. This is Jiva Bhava, all artificiality, all difficulty, tension and suffering. This situation produces dreams for purposes of relief through fulfillment. The subtle desires repressed within manifest themselves in dream when the will does not operate. The desires cannot all operate in the waking world because the reality is there, opposing them from outside. You cannot go on tom-tomming your desires to people. They will oppose you, censor you, and make your life hard in the world. And the desires too are very intelligent. They know where to express themselves and where not. But in the dream world, there is no such censor from the reality outside. There is then no will and intellect or ratiocination working, and there is only the instinct operating. You live in an instinctive world. Your real personality, at least partially, comes out in the dream world. Dreams, therefore, are due to repressed desires. This is one of the causes behind dreams. This is the only factor that the psychoanalysts of the West emphasize. But Indian psychologists and psychoanalysts, like the Raja Yogins and the philosophers of the Vedanta, have touched another aspect of dream. The dreams may be, to some extent, of course, the results of complexes created by frustrated desires, but this is not wholly true. Dreams may be due to other reasons also. One such reason being the working of past karma. The effects of past karmas, meritorious or unmeritorious, may project themselves into dream when chances are not given to them for expression in waking life. Also, a thought of some other person may affect you. A friend of yours may be deeply thinking of you, and you may have a dream of him, or you may have a dream with experiences corresponding to his thoughts. Your mother may be far away, crying for you, and her thought can affect you. You may have a dream. All this is equal to saying that a telepathic effect can produce dream. In the case of spiritual seekers, Guru's grace can cause a dream, and catastrophic experiences that one may have to pass through in the waking world may pass lightly as a dream experience by his grace. Due to the power of the Guru, one may have a dream suffering instead of a waking one. If the disciple has to fall down and break his leg due to prarabdha, the Guru will make him experience it in dream and save him the trouble in waking. One may have a dream temperature or fever instead of a waking fever. One may have a calamity in dream instead of its coming in waking. This is due to the grace of the Guru. So, Saktipata can also be a cause of dream. All this the psychoanalysts of the West do not know. And Ishwar's grace also can bring about dreams. God may bless you and give you certain peculiar experiences in dream. You may ask, why should they not come in waking? Why should the Guru work only in dream and Ishwar's grace come only in dream? The reason is that you oppose their function in waking life due to the assertions of the ego. You counteract Ishwar's working and Guru's blessing by the action of your own egoism. But in dream, the ego subsides to some extent. You become more normal, one may say, and you approximate yourself more to a reality rather than to artificiality in dream. Thus, it is easier for these powers to operate in dream than in waking. The opposing will of the ego, which functions in waking, subsides to a large extent in dream, and so there is a greater chance provided for the diviner forces to function in the dreaming condition. The physician puts the patient to sleep first, before the healing process can take place, because the ego opposes interference in the waking life, while there is no such opposition in dream and sleep. In hypnosis, the patient is put to sleep. The nerves must be soothed. The agitation of the mind should come down. The ego should not oppose the healing forces. Dream is helpful in this way for the operation of the higher powers coming from the Guru or from Ishwar. Dream therefore can have umpteen causes. Whatever the causes be, dream in the individual is regarded as an effect of waking and is often judged as a consequence of the impressions of waking perception and cognition. The world of dream, being subtle, projected only by the mind, is regarded as pravivikta, sukshma, non-physical. This is so both in the case of Tejas and Hiranyagarbha. While Hiranyagarbha has cosmic knowledge, the Jeev has no such knowledge, for the reason already explained. Hiranyagarbha is Ishwar's form, and Tejas is Jiva's form. Thus is the twofold mystery which dream bolsters up before us. Consciousness and sleep. The waking world and the dream world, from the point of view of the Jiva, are two aspects of the function of the mind. The mind projects itself in perception, both in waking and dream. The mind is active, and it gets tired of activity. It ceases from activity when it is too much fatigued. The complete cessation of the activity of the mind due to exhaustion is sleep, known as Sushupti. That is called Sushupti or deep sleep, where na kanchana kamam kamiyate, one desires nothing, because the mind has withdrawn itself from both the physical and subtle objects. Na kanchana swapnam pasyati, it does not dream also because even psychic activity has ceased. Tat sushuptam, this is complete absorption of the mind into itself, but this absorption is of an unconscious nature. The mind, while it appears to be a little conscious in dream and more conscious in waking, is not conscious at all in deep sleep. This has given rise to an erroneous school of philosophy which concludes that consciousness is possible only when there is contact of the mind with objects. The Nyaya and the Vaiseshika hold this view. Unless there is contact of the Atman, they say, with objects, there cannot be knowledge. The real nature of the Atman, while it is not in contact with things, is not knowledge, say the Nyaya and Vaiseshika. They are not right because they cannot explain how this unconscious element creeps into the state of sleep. The reason is not merely that consciousness has no contact with objects, but that it has some other obstruction to the revelation of knowledge in deep sleep. The third foot of the Atman, the third phase of its analysis, is deep sleep, where all perceptions and cognitions converge into a single mode of the mind, ekibhutaha. It becomes a mass of consciousness, which is not projected outside, prajnana ghanaha. There is no modification of the mind, and so there is no external consciousness. We are not aware of the world outside in the state of deep sleep because of the absence of vrittis, or psychosis of the mind. Only when the mind becomes extrovert can it have consciousness of the outer world, whether in dream or in waking. But there is no agitation of the mind of that nature in sleep. It is as if there is a homogeneous mass of all perceptions, where all the samskaras, vasanas, commingle into a single mode or condition, instead of there being many cognitive psychoses. Anandamayo, Anandabhuk, Chittamukha, Pradnyaha. It is all bliss. The happiness of deep sleep is greater than all forms of happiness or pleasure born of sense contact. It is filled with Anand, bliss, delight, satisfaction. Even a king cannot be happy if he does not have sleep for a week. All the worlds may be given to you, but if you will not be allowed to sleep, you would rather say, "Let me sleep. I do not want any world. You take your kingdom back, all your empire. You allow me to sleep peacefully." An empire cannot give you that happiness. The power which you may seem to have of the world cannot give you that satisfaction, which you have while you are alone in deep sleep, unbefriended, unprotected, unseen, uncognized, unpossessed of anything. While you are possessed of so many things in the world, with all the retinue of a kingdom, with the power that you wield in society, you have a satisfaction, but it is of no comparison with the happiness of sleep, where you have no empire, no retinue, no power conceivable, and nobody even to look at your face. In that condition, when you are alone, you are more happy than when you are in the midst of people in the waking state. Just imagine your condition. While you are alone, you are so happy, and while you are in the midst of many people, you are agitated, vexed, worried, and complain about everything. You make no complaints in sleep, and you want nothing. Look at it. When you are fast asleep, you want nothing. You ask for nothing, and you do not want anybody even to see you or speak to you. And yet, you're more happy there than when you are an emperor. From where has this happiness come? From where has this Anandamayatva come to you? This subject is dealt with in the mantra which describes the third phase of the Atman. Your real nature is aloneness, not sociability. Your real nature is Kevalat, not Indriya Samyog with Vishayas, objects. Your real nature is singularity, not multiplicity. Your real nature is a total transcendence of all sensory and mental phenomena, not contact with objects. Therefore, you are Anandamay, Anandabhuk, filled with bliss, enjoying bliss. What do you eat in deep sleep which gives you so much satisfaction? Ananda alone is your food, not bread, dal, kheer, rasgulla, laddu. You get nothing of that kind in sleep, and yet you are more happy there than when you have a sumptuous dinner or meal. All the luncheons of the world cannot give you that satisfaction which you have in sleep due to there being only the food of Anand. You eat Anand, swallow Anand, consume Anand, and exist as Anand. And the bliss of pure being is known as Anand. This is what you enjoy in deep sleep. And when you get up from sleep, with what refreshment you come out. From where has that energy come to you? None was there to talk to you. Nobody spoke to you. No one gave you anything. You possessed nothing. There was no property. You took no tonic. No nutritious food was there. And yet you come out of sleep with strength, well refreshed, and with the readiness to do more activity. From where did you get this power, this strength, this energy, this Anand, this delight? Wonderful. You cannot answer this question. When you had nothing, when you possessed nothing, how did this Anand come to you? And how did this power come to you? It came, no doubt, from another source altogether which is not of this world. Futile it is to run after the shadows of the world of objects. Foolishly you go to the things of the world which only tire your senses and drive you back to sleep, giving you nothing, giving you false promises, tantalizing you, making you look foolish. This is the world. And yet, again and again do you go to the world, forgetting what you saw in the state of sleep. We forget the sleep experience. This is the malady of all our waking toils. If you could remember what you had in sleep, you will never come back to this waking world of multiplicity. If consciousness were there in sleep, you would not like to return to this waking world. But you remain unconscious. So you are driven back by an impulse of work once again to the waking world. Consciousness of sleep is equal to Samadhi. If sleep is to be coupled with consciousness, it becomes Atma, Sakshatkar, the realization of the Atman. This is what they call super consciousness. This is Nirvana, Moksha, Kevalat, liberation. This is your real nature. This is why you're full of Ananda in sleep. You go to the blessedness of eternity and infinity in sleep, but you're not aware of it. Anandamayo, Anandabhuk, Chitto Mukha. What is the instrument through which you enjoy this Anand? Not the senses, not the mind. While there were 19 mouths for you in the waking and dreaming states, there are no such mouths in deep sleep. Here the mouth is not the mind or the senses, but consciousness alone is the mouth. Chitva Mukha. Consciousness enjoys bliss. Who enjoys bliss? Consciousness alone is the answer. It is Chit that experiences Ananda, not the Indriyas or the Manas, the senses or the mind. In deep sleep there is only Anand experienced by Chit. You experience Sat Chit Ananda here, consciousness being as such. But something else happens there. A very intriguing factor starts working, which covers the consciousness and makes you come back to the waking life with the same foolishness with which you entered the state of sleep. This is prajna, the consciousness which is in its own pristine nature, knowing everything and not being associated with anything external. This is the transcendent state in relation to waking and dreaming, the cause of all experiences in waking and dreaming, the karyavastha, in relation to which waking and dreaming are effects, karyavastha. In correspondence with this prajna, or the causal condition of ananda mayatva of the jiva, there is a universal causal condition known as Ishwar. While the waking consciousness individually is called Vishwa, it is called Tejas in dream, and prajna in the deep sleep state. Correspondingly, from the cosmic level, we have Virat in waking, Hiranyagarbha in dreaming, and Ishwar in deep sleep. While we ordinarily hold that the impressions of waking create dream and an adjournment of all the activities of these impressions in sleep, thus deducing dream from waking and sleep from both, in the cosmic level we cannot make such deductions, because a reverse process takes place there which seems to be a prior condition to the individual state. Ishwar being the cause of the Hiranyagarbha, and Hiranyagarbha being the cause of Virat, the relationship between the individual and the cosmic, between Vishwa and Virat, Tejas and Hiranyagarbha, prajna and Ishwar, is one of organic integrality. And a realization of this organic connection of being will land the jiva in Ishwaratva and make it at once omnipresent, omniscient, and omnipotent.